Welcome to another episode of Dangothoughts. This time I'm talking to Alaan Moreno. Alaan's an incredible creator of 3D art that was actually mentioned on Joe Rogan. I was invited to one of his shows by a mutual friend, Tim, and was blown away right away. His creations seem to be on the cutting edge of what's possible visually in the medium of three-dimensional space. It's completely immersive and it feels alive, like you're in the space. Always such a pleasure to have him over, and he has the most positive vibe that is always a pleasure to be around. Just a quick reminder, if you like what I do, please like and subscribe. And if you really like what I do, please consider contributing on Patreon. The link is in the description. And now, I give you my conversation with Alaan Moreno. Alaan, thank you for doing this, brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure, man. Okay.
So before we get to talk about your upcoming sex change and aliens,
Yes.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your incredible work that you're doing. Because I guess I was invited to your show by a mutual friend, by Tim, and I told you this privately, but I was obviously, like everybody else, blown away by what you did, and I'm gonna let you tell us like what you actually have done, but I just want to tell you that the perspective I'm coming at it from is that this show for me is about people who devote their lives to their crafts and they take initiatives to explore domains that other people don't necessarily like. So, you know, things exist, but then people that actually really play in the outskirts of what's possible creatively and take it to a level that people get really interested in it on a massive scale. And you definitely fit that profile tremendously. So first, if you can tell us a little bit, like briefly, like what is it exactly that you do at the moment with those 3D installations, and then if you can tell us a little bit about how you came to fuck around with that. So.
Okay. I started making this holographic art about a year ago. So throughout all of quarantine, I was, I couldn't go out. There was no reason to. So I focused all my energy into getting to learn, different 3D software. And so I was just trying to put like a piece out a day just to keep myself busy and keep myself entertained. And then once quarantine started kind of like dying down, the company I've been working for before quarantine asked me to come build a new wall at the top of the US Bank Tower. It's going to be 70 feet long and about 14 feet high. And we started building it, and I, reconnected with the crew and with the owners of the company, the founders, Nate and Ryan, and I remember seeing the wall, and I asked them about the specs, like the size of it, and the next day I came with the clip ready just to like test on the wall to scale, and it wasn't 3D yet because I hadn't figured out how to actually make it pop off the wall, because all the work now that I'm doing all comes off the wall, but I tested it and I was like, I had to do more. So I came in, and then I kept coming in with tests, and they kept letting me just come up to just test stuff. And eventually I started making enough stuff that they're like, whoa, like this doesn't quite fit into our reel. Like we have a reel for this wall that's all 3D. Like our demo is all 3D, but it doesn't, this stuff is so much different from it. You should keep making stuff from it. And then they asked me to like make a little demo for Justin Bieber because they wanted him to come in and see something, so they wanted me to kind of tailor something for him, and then I started making stuff, and then it just wasn't in Bieber world, it just didn't quite fit, so they're just like, you should just do your own thing. So I kept making more work, and then eventually I made like a handful of pieces, probably like 8 or 9 pieces, and then I just was driven to like put a show around it together. So I put a show together right around this time last year. Actually, to this day last year, I shot the promo for it, and then May 1st of last year, I did my first show ever, and it was a huge success. Still like kind of underground, like not a lot of people heard about it, but the right people heard about it. And then I got asked to go to New York to show some stuff, and then I got asked to go to Miami for Art Basel this past year to show some stuff. And now like people know what I'm doing, but it's such like a huge endeavor to bring me out for shows, because it's not just like bringing out like a canvas, like it's bringing out a massive, multi-million-dollar screen out to a show. It's like I don't get to show as much as other artists that are popping off right now, but like when it does happen, it's like a really special moment, and all the work is related to like, psychedelic experiences, lucid dreams, experiences that I've gone through. So it's all very tied in with like my experience on this planet.
So by the way, because they're on the table now, which is again totally my fault.
but try to do this list because we can actually really well.
Got it.
Yeah, so
Karate
just
chop.
karate chop. So let me describe to you how I saw it, and then you tell me where I'm overly romanticizing and where I'm spot on how amazing it actually is. What stood up to me about your work is that it didn't feel like you go to like a 3D film. It felt like it truly felt immersive, like, and then you, I think you expose. So first of all, for the audience, essentially those are like a giant wall of 3D installation that you create all by yourself, and it's very psychedelic in nature. And when you put 3D glasses on, it feels like the environment, like you really feel like you're in there. Because when you go to a 3D film, things pop off the screen a little bit. There's like this slight immersion, but it never quite feels like you're there. It just, you're kind of aware that things are coming off the screen. That's where people go like this and all kinds of stupid shit like that. But like some objects in the space looked like they could potentially be interpreted by me actually being in my actual space, and they can actually almost come and like touch me, and depth is very real in that space. And then you told me that there's something that you basically, what you figured out is something about the ocular system that, like, is it the exact distances and how we perceive things with both eyes, or were there some more components there?
Yeah, it's a lot of like, there's a lot of like technical aspects aside from the creativity, like where the Z plane is, that is like a comfortable viewing position for whatever it is that you're looking at, because you don't want it to feel like it's coming right here and your eyes have to cross to see it. And that's all in like the settings and, the automation of the interocular. Like there's a lot of like little tiny things that it's one thing to make 3D work, but it's another thing to make comfortable 3D work. So that's really where and I'm not even the best at it, but I'm one of the only people doing it at this scale, like solo artist versus like a major studio doing it. So, I feel like I got my style down, and then how I make it pop off the wall, that's always reinterpreted, because it's like every piece is so different, So it's that's really where like because I can create something all day, I can create work all day, but like how do I make it pleasurable to watch every time? That's really where the secret lies,
Yeah, it does feel like that. It does feel very natural. It feels like I don't necessarily, it doesn't belong in some weird uncanny valley, in which is just like jarring to me, and I feel like there's a complete disassociation between it and myself. Is this, you live your life pretty much as like an artist, right? You create not just visual, you create also music, and you also put your music in the show, and you hire musicians and you work with other musicians to create like this ambiance. Is this something you started since you were very young, or this is something you made, like you had like a regular 9 to 5 and then you decided to just kind of shift?
So I started making music long before I started doing anything visual. So I started like drawing. I did mushrooms when I was a kid.
That's always a good beginning of a story.
Yeah, I did mushrooms when I was probably like 16. And then I started drawing after that. I was just like driven to like create. So I started like really rough. Like it'd start with just like, I would like, every time I step into class, I would just like make a huge scribble, and then I'd find faces, and I'd like create like little environments and stuff. And it was really rough. Like I still have a lot of these sketches, and it looks like a kid that should be on ADHD medicine. Like it's just like out there, And then I started getting better, and I started being more focused, and I started painting after that. And then I failed my Spanish 4 class. Although I know Spanish, I failed it because I wouldn't do the work. So I'm like, I know Spanish, but they want me to like write papers and essays in Spanish. And I was like, so I failed that. So I had to take a college film class to like make up for that credit. So I started going to the college there, and I started getting into filmmaking. And then when I did like my first short film, I realized that making the music was more important to me than the film. So that's how I got into music. Was like, I want to score the music, I want to score the film. So I started playing around with drums and keyboards and stuff, and then like people stopped like jamming as much. So I was like, I'm gonna get into electronic production. So I got into electronic, and then I realized I wanted to start making the visuals for the music I was writing again. So I got back into animating and stuff, and then so I've been writing music for 12 years.
Okay.
So since I was like 18, and then I've been doing digital art for probably like the same. Just started with Photoshop and like GIMP. It was called back then. It was free software, and I would just like manipulate things and some After Effects as a kid. And then it wasn't until quarantine that I really got into my 3D work, and then I really started working on that. So I feel like I've been an artist my whole life because I've always been creative, but it wasn't until high school, until like my psychedelic awakening, that I was like, oh, there's something that I can't understand that is like trying to communicate through me, that that I have to like give hands to, like I have to be a vessel of. And then once I kind of just like let go of control, or you know my own will, and just kind of just be the conduit, and just like kind of guide whatever it is through my eye for composition or color, things got a lot easier. And now I live in that space, so it's like the work comes out much more fluidly than me just having to like rack my brain to figure out what I'm gonna make next. It just kind of happens. So
And
yeah.
you just let it, basically.
Yeah.
You don't stand in the way of it.
No.
Interesting. And do you think that everybody has a form of this?
Yeah, I feel
Like, do you feel that actually everybody can do something really creative? Or, I mean, obviously there's degrees, but do you think it's possible that some people are just literally, they're just not wired this way?
Yeah, there's different levels of it, but I feel like anybody could find their creativity at the at the highest extent that they're capable of. I think it's possible for everybody. Obviously there's like special circumstances, like, but I feel like everyone has the capacity to be a channel for a different aspect of whatever that God language, or God, like the whatever word is trying to be spoken through them. I feel like everybody has a different capacity to be a messenger of that. So I think that just most people don't want to commit the time towards, walking into the dark of not being recognized for being an artist, or not being appreciated for being creative or anything. So people don't like that discomfort. And I had to do that for the last 10 years of like, yeah, he's creative, but is it really going to turn into anything? Am I just going to go back to a 9 to 5? Am I just going to go back to working a job? Is this ever going to be anything? Or is it just going to be like my little like secret that I'm an artist, So it wasn't until like last year pretty much that anyone recognized me as being anything but just like, yeah, he's a creative dude. He makes some music, and, he's like good he can build some stuff, just like, you know, he didn't make it though, or didn't like, cross over. And, I'm still like not really there yet. I'm still like finding my way, but now at least I'm recognized for doing something that is important, and it's a big project. So I think just most people don't want to walk through that darkness for long enough to figure it out what it is that they're actually doing.
Yeah, it does feel kind of thankless for quite a while.
Yeah, it does. And that was a lot of my adult life.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
just basically committing to the, like, I guess maybe knowing is the wrong word, but kind of like this internal, very strong sense that this is the right direction, so I got to stay on it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's some difficult moments in which you're not really sure, but you have to kind of muscle through it.
But I couldn't imagine not creating constantly. Like I can't imagine what it'd be like to not be an artist, like not have a creative thought, and like not taking my my mind for granted. Like I have good ideas, and I have a good eye, and like really utilizing it as like a gift rather than just like I don't want it to waste away because I didn't
I can do this thing, but whatever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
No, always pushing the limit, teaching myself new things, studying other people's work, like always learning, like never shying away from learning new software, the new techniques, watching tutorials, like never thinking it's good enough, because there's still so many things I need to learn. I think a lot of people just don't want to commit the time to learning what it is that's going to push them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spoke to this artist, Tomer Peretz. You also
met him.
Oh, you met him, yeah. Cool dude.
He's he paints large faces.
Yeah. Very cool dude.
Yeah.
I actually did an interview with him, and he said something very similar. He said, well, at least for him, it was never a question. It was like, I can't not create. It's just like, and he said, I know it sounds loaded, but like, it's literally like, I need to breathe, so I need to create. So it's almost like I can't not do. And that's really where it's at. And that's what I mean. Like, I guess the sense of knowing that you can do that coupled with your ability to actually execute. But then the other portion, which is like staying with it, because like with everything else, you have a certain learning curve and you have a certain amount of time before you become really proficient at something, to the extent that you start being recognized as somebody who's really good at that. But in a lot of ways, all those domains that belong in a family of things that don't have a structure in our society, like, it's not like being a lawyer or being like, there's a certain trajectory that you can take. There's kind of, it's like a path that somebody drew for you.
The roadmap.
Exactly. But here you don't really have that. And I guess it's also part of the creative space itself, which is, in order to truly stay creative, you have to literally innovate your own path, so to speak. And I think I always find it when I talk to creative people who are really good at what they do, one determining factor is this, which is like they just know, and that's what helps them kind of go through this period in which they just literally walk on a path that is not marked by anything. They just kind of plow through it, basically.
Yeah. And especially for my career type, or my new media, there's very few footprints, in the snow, that if somebody who's done something similar, like usually when an actor can follow, another actor's footsteps and go, if I get roles like this, that can launch me into this kind of trajectory and stuff. There's usually like markings for, certain career types. Like lawyers have, pretty clear, like you work for a firm, you do this. Doctors, you work for a hospital, you take up this kind of practice, but for new media in this kind of art form, there isn't. And I think that's what's also exciting about it. But it's also like the difficult part is like you're trying to crack this like code or figure out this puzzle that hasn't been seen in its full capacity because it's new, and I'd rather be doing that than, just trying to follow along the footpaths of other people. I'd rather be doing something that is questionable, and even if I'm not the one that's going to finish like the story or the arc of this story, at least I could be a part of like making some of the footprints that get the next person there,
Yeah, so you mark some of those markers that you're saying that doesn't exist. Yeah. That's a really good point, that even in creative domains that existed for a long time, you already have some markers.
Yeah.
And here you're saying, no, this is like new media, and we're just literally just beginning to understand it, basically.
Yeah.
How do you see is it, brother, is it yours or mine?
I can mute my phone. It's up there.
Cool.
It's up there, Yuto. You mind grabbing off the desk?
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Do you feel that, like, how do you see the space developing into those more, well, maybe they're not theoretical because they really are being worked on, but like things like Neuralink and basically integration technology, right? How do you see, I would love to hear what you think about, like, in a little bit more technical terms. Like, do you think, first of all, how many years down the line do you believe this is going to become viable? Like, how many years from now can I go and see your show, but there's no screen? You just project it into my Neuralink, basically. Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 20 years?
I think a good estimate, and at the pace that the technology moves now, it's because it's like right now, I feel like in the next couple of years, if it does become, because right now in the stages, it's like killing some of its test subjects. And that is still like a couple of years off before some human has a study or like has a test.
Wait, you mean like physically killing them?
Yeah.
What does?
The Neuralink implant.
I did not know that.
It killed some of the pigs.
In what way?
I believe I read that.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I'm not challenging it. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking. So
I believe that a couple, either the chimps or the pigs, died from the Neuralink implant, from the process, or from like misfiring something. I could be wrong about this, but that's
okay.
That's the last
that
I
would be
read,
interesting to look into. Okay, so you're saying that there's some actual, like, this is because last time I looked at it, everything was kind of like smooth sailing. There might be updates since then. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would definitely dampen that would create some issues with the trajectory of the process. But so that taken into account, how long?
That's taken into account, and them getting all the bugs fixed. I think that we'll probably see it in someone's mind as like a subject in the next 2 to 3 years once they've done enough testing on it, and then probably a couple years of that testing, and then a couple people more having. I feel like it won't be a viable product for like another like 10 to 15 years, because it's just like, I feel like that kind of comes in those waves. Like the internet was 10 years ago, Web3 is now, and then Neuralink, which I feel like will be the next web, which is like, it's kind of like the like connection without the intermediary or whatever, however it connects us all. I feel like that'll be the next wave of the information revolution, is like people being able to download each other's thoughts or ideas into each other's psychic abilities, whatever like the full capacity of that's going to be. I'd say probably 15 years, it could be something that you see, you know, upper class people getting implanted, or, military, applications or something like that. But I don't think the normal average person will have it for like another 2 decades, probably. That's my
Okay,
guess.
so maybe that's probably that's a I would say that's a safe assumption.
Yeah.
That would be dope though. Like I'm just keep imagining the possibilities of like you needing to also code for certain types of emotions or certain types of like internal influxes of like how what is the tilt? Like I can totally see those degrees of freedom being played with, which is
Yeah.
just fucking insane.
It is
like,
insane. What's wild is that like we weren't made to have computers in us, right? What's gonna happen? I just think that it's so like against our biology,
oh, so you fall in that camp.
I don't know if the integration is gonna be as seamless. Like I'm curious to see how
Yeah.
it goes, but I'm more interested in us being able to create synthetic beings that we can then implant with empathy and emotion, versus us trying to implant ourselves with synthetic, computers,
That's interesting because there's always obviously this is the that's the line, isn't it? It's just like you either believe that kind of like you're trying to look at it from the I guess more like shamanic perspective, I guess you would call it, which is like more earth oriented. Like we came from dirt, and to the dirt will shall return, and all that stuff. But on the other hand, you can say, well, everything that exists is natural, and computers are natural because they exist.
They're made out of synthetic.
They made out of things but they also are
natural.
moved by whatever the universe is doing through our brains, right?
Yeah.
So it's like for me, I always looked at it like there's always those stages in the middle where obviously you reach like it's a wonky stage because there's a lot of bugs to fix, just like up until I don't know the 1960 65 I think even it was actually more. No, actually I'm exaggerating. I think it was probably till like 1935. But it was actually, if you would be sick, you had less chance. Your chances of getting worse would increase if you would go to the doctor, because they were still figuring a lot of things out. But then you climb out of that valley into a place in which now, no, you definitely should go to see a doctor. Like that's not a question, right? But I feel like it will go through a stage like that, in which we have this weird uncanny valley in which shit just goes wrong all the time because we haven't ironed out the details.
Yeah.
But then after that, hopefully we'll get to a place in which it's just fully integrated. And I feel like it's like, it's interesting because it is a very good question. And I think that in the end, the answer to kind of thinking about it for me is the length of arc you want to look at. And the argument that killed the first proposition is the more favorable one, like as in, we should always strive to learn from Mother Earth and all that stuff. It's not that we shouldn't. We absolutely should, because we're connected to this planet. But the argument that killed that for me was like, well, you can sing Kumbaya all day. I forgot who said this, but the sun will explode. So it's an intelligence test that you have a certain amount of time to figure out. So you definitely need innovation to solve that part, at least, right? To get off the planet, learn how to maneuver through interstellar space and all that stuff. But I think that just saying that is also incomplete. I feel like both needs to happen. We need to always appreciate the present moment and everything that, like the more Buddhist approach to it. Like if you combine Elon Musk's abilities with Buddha's abilities, right? You kind of combine this ultimate like way to be in which you are technologically capable, but you also are connected to family and to the planet, and you're aware of how you're influencing the environment and all that stuff. So I feel like for me that would be like the perfect kind of merge between those two things.
I guess it's my question is in like the intention, the ethical, the ethics behind the people that are going to be like distributing, uploading, compiling, like whatever they're putting into the Neuralink, like the reason why they want to even, why they're trying to advance.
Well, I think
this
Elon is
place.
clear on that. You know the whole thing behind that, or
Yeah, but like Elon, I question him sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, because I can't tell if he's with us or if he's just a really well disguised puppet. I can't tell.
Okay, so obviously I don't have a way to know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you just look at his actions
Mm-hmm.
and the risks that he's taking personally to achieve the thing, to me that's a strong enough indicator that he's actually not acting for the benefit of power or money.
Mm-hmm.
He has these abilities, and just like you're saying, you have those incredible abilities. You don't want to take them for granted. I feel like he feels the same way, which is like I have these abilities. Not a lot of people can do this. I better you put them to use because I'm not going to live forever. I feel that's what, again, maybe I'm, again, romanticizing it, but like it does feel to me that that's the case. But I would say even without looking at Elon as an individual, I agree with the statement that he makes, which is, well, guess what? When we have an actual full-on AGI, we don't want to have the runaway problem. We want to be able to ride that wave. Otherwise, we'll be left completely behind and irrelevant, and that can be very dangerous. Not even in the sense that the AGI is going to try and destroy us, but just like with the ants example, which is like, well, if we're in the way, we're not going to be in the way anymore. You know what I mean? It's just that. So it's like our ability, and also this is a point that I found very interesting that was made by Eric Weinstein. He said that. And okay, so when you just say it, it doesn't sound as profound, but it only becomes profound when you think about the implications of what he's saying. So the statement is, we are the AI. And so on the surface of it, it just sounds like okay, it's like a nice way of thinking about it. But then you really think about what it means. What he's saying is that, so imagine right now you're making like an AGI in a computer, right? We always think of it in terms of like, well, you create the software, whatever it is, and then the software will, at some point will become aware of itself, right? So the point is that just like you imagine this AGI being created in a computer and then slowly, evolving. So the question is always like, how long will it take it to become, make not just sentient, but like, well, first of all, sentient, but then to what degree of awareness does it have?
Yeah.
Like when does it reach a stage of awareness of ours, right? And then it also has all those capabilities because it's connected to the internet, and then at that point it becomes superhuman, right? So it's like, So, but then this is where the profound part of the point comes, which is what he means by we are the AI, is that it takes AI the same number of years that it took from single cell organisms to us to evolve, to become sentient. That's what he means. That you have the answer. It takes it 3 billion years. Because this is on wetware, right? It's like it took it on, in biological terms, it's still computation, but it took it that long to get to this point. Now, what we're building, it's not different. It's just the next stage of evolution, and which is the substrate, which is us, gives rise to it, basically. So in that regard, and this, I guess it also speaks to your preference that you mentioned, which is you prefer to create external creatures that have ethics and things like that. It might be the case that you can't. Like literally the actual AGI is us wearing this technology, essentially. That's
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to an AI expert from Google at lunch a couple months ago, and one of the things that they're trying to figure out is how to program empathy into the AI. And I started asking, I was like, how do you do it? Well, he said that you have to like feed it a certain kind of like, you have to reward it for a certain kind of like input. I was like, so what is that? Like, what is that in our terms? He's like, laughter, joy. Like, what would the AI be reading from us that would make it want to, like keep searching for that reward? And it would be like what makes the room more vibrant, what makes laughter come out, what makes like there's like a certain kind of set of parameters that would make it do that. And I'm more interested in that, like how do we input all the best parts of our consciousness into an AI? Because I think that the doom and gloom kind of like the AI is going to end us is almost like our guilty conscience of what we feel like we deserve.
We're capable of doing, yeah.
Because of what we've done to
Oh,
this
what
planet.
we feel like we deserve.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because of how we act on this planet, how we behave to each other. We feel like the AI is going to see all of our, skeletons in the closet and be like, you're done. You're done. That's it for you guys. I'll take it from here. You guys have fucked up. And I think that's just our guilty conscience. It's like a mirror of how we think that we, what is coming to us, But I feel like part of what, why I do what I do is I just kind of want to like lay the seeds as an artist and the way that I'm capable of to lay the seeds of like, it can be different than that. It doesn't have to be that. Like we could totally have this prosperous future where we integrate with AI and we help heal this planet, heal like all of like our relationships between, all the different cultures and countries and all the different, parts of this civilization and like unite. And it could be through Neuralink. It could be through like, the next advancement in human consciousness. But I think that it has to come from that intention of like that interconnectivity that we're all kind of missing because it's all borders and country and nationalism and all this. But like, what happens if we do start getting Neuralink becomes like, a part of human life and all of a sudden borders and everything just kind of like comes down. That I could see that being like a way that Neuralink and whatever technologies stuff that because I feel like Neuralink will be the first. And then there'll be like all sorts of other ones.
Oh, 100%.
It'll be like the space race, but like internal.
Yep. That's exactly how I see it. I agree 100% with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, you're saying that the borders are going to be around ideas. They're not going to be around physical borders.
Yeah.
Because even the socioeconomical structure is around where you can go work, like access, basically.
Resources.
Yeah. But here you have access, including work, including resources, including knowledge. It's all in that space, so you don't really need to.
I don't look forward to like the days where like the the upper class can buy like the information knowledge packs and they just instantly get downloaded with like a whole like edge of like information that they didn't have to like actually acquire.
They know kung fu.
Yeah, all of a sudden they just download the kung fu pack and I hope that it becomes a more shared ecosystem, a more like equal ecosystem, and when that.
But isn't the internet just kind of like that?
Yeah, but not everyone has access to the internet. Like
that's true. I didn't think of that.
What percentage?
Is it true that most of the world doesn't?
Yeah, like
really?
I think maybe.
So like, right, because the majority of it is like in India and most people. Are,
yeah.
It's really funny. I forget who said that, but it was really funny to me. He said that what the percentage of white people in the world is?
What?
I was like, no, it's like 3%. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, but there's still a majority. I'm like, what the fuck?
What?
Yes.
Whoa.
Because most people are either Asian, some form of Asian.
Yeah.
Well, like, Indian is also, I guess, Asian. Yeah. But like, that's where most people are.
Whoa. South American. Whoa. Wow.
That just blew my mind. I was like, fuck, man, that's fucking crazy.
I was going to guess half.
Yeah,
that's way off.
Yeah. No, obviously, that's the point of the premise, I guess. So listen, Alaan, I know that our time is short, so I want to ask a couple of like questions I really wanted to ask you. First of all, what makes you happy? I know it's a very general question, but the first thing that comes to your mind, what really makes you happy?
What's made me happiest in this last couple of years is like seeing people just like see something that I made and for them just go, whoa. And for me to go, I don't know. They're like,
no, you do know though. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still guessing with them, but like, I think what makes me happiest is like going up, presenting the show and then having people just be like, that was life changing. And I have no idea how it changed their life, like in what way. I don't know, but like people still hit me up, being like, ever since then, this and this, and I can't wait to see it again. And that makes me happy is like providing a space where for 15 minutes, people can just shut off their phones and like any kind of external is just gone. They could just be right there in the present because we have like 7 seconds of attention span now. And for this 15 minutes, it's like, I'm right here. And that, I think it's a really special place to be because, I feel like our attention span has been shortened almost as like a weapon of our psyche, like our attention span's been shortened so that it feels like all we have is 7 seconds. So anything more like that, it almost seems futile to like commit your time to, whether it's like social change, like anything that it can actually affect the world. It feels like if it can't do it in 7 seconds, it's almost like why. So just giving people like more time to think and breathe, and like that collective moment of awe where people are just like in the room together looking at each other like whoa, and I can just see that look on their face. That makes me really happy, because everything that I've made just came from me like learning about myself and learning about like what I'm capable of, and then for people to like take something from it, really it shows me that something is acting through me that's much greater than me, and for just to have that presence in my life that is like taking care of me and like allowing for me to share that with people is like, that makes me happy. It makes me feel like I'm on the right path, and that, and my family and my friends, that makes me happy. It's like seeing my friends doing really well, seeing my friends succeed, seeing my family succeed, seeing everybody grow as individuals. Like my mother, she's in her 40s, but she's learning about herself finally after raising 3 kids. Now she's like getting to know herself. And
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's always amazing to see that.
Yeah, I love seeing my friends grow and the people I care about, seeing them grow and take like big leaps in their life where it's like they're succeeding.
We're succeeding together.
Yeah,
and you're very connected to your family. I see. There's
my family's
it's a big source of power for you. It seems.
Yeah, they're everything. I do everything so that one day they can fully express themselves, and I want to be one day like financially stable, so I just ask my mom, what business do you want to start? Let's do it. Like, you want to be a realtor? You want to open a restaurant? Like, what do you want to do? You literally don't have to do anything from now on, but what do you want to do? Because she's never going to stop doing things,
Yeah.
So I want to be able to like be a good provider for my family, and that drives me.
That's amazing.
Happy. Yeah.
By the way, that would be a great premise for a film with the 7-second span. It's like talk about this weird thing we're in, and it should be called 7 seconds.
7 seconds.
7 seconds.
Yeah.
I would love to watch something like that. Well, okay, so
it's only a 7-second film though.
Yeah, it's just a fucking 7 seconds
with the credits and everything,
bro. And then somehow it fucking because Hollywood, they're fucking crazy. Somehow it's gonna get like fucking awards and shit. Yeah. Shut it on my iPhone.
Like,
oh my god, they're geniuses.
Oh my god, did you watch that? I've watched it a couple times. It's beautiful. And the cinematography.
Yeah. Best original idea of all time.
Best actor. Best score.
Let's work on that, bro. That can actually work.
Best
I would not be surprised. Seriously.
7 seconds.
It's just like the other thing I wanted to ask you was the way that you see the enterprise of what you're doing now evolving in the near future, not like Neuralink and stuff. By the way, that's what I want to tell you. So, like you said that people said that it was profound for them or life-changing. So I can tell you, for me, there was 2 things that were like really impactful. One, it showed me what's possible, which was very exciting. Mm-hmm. But the other one was that it wasn't cheesy. This kind of show, it's so easy to miss and for it to become cheesy, because the music has to be right, exactly. So it can't be like it was played really nicely. Like the balance was very good. So for me, I think excitement was I was like, oh, we talked about these things, but now it's like it's actually here.
Yeah,
that's the thing that really impacted me.
Yeah. The next phase of it, pre-Neuralink, is I want to start involving wearables where we can like gauge people's like different metrics like heart rate, brain patterns, just like suit them up with like a couple different monitors, even if it's just like a small like group, like a test group in the crowd, and take all that information throughout the show, see how it affects people on a biological level, and then start like using that information to like better synthesize an experience. Like, oh, this color palette with this scale with this like this moment did this to people. Okay, well, that's something to like study. That's something to use for the next show, and start like refining it to like where the show is like brings you to like a peak moment, or like the whole thing is just a peak moment where you're just like, it just does something to you. So like integrating technology with the art to better to more intentionally and comprehensively affect people's like, experience, and then take that data and just keep compiling it so you create something, whether it's like you start running all that and then the show is like created by AI or something, or like, smart systems where you can like make things like, create things that are personal to even just one person that's just getting metered and they're watching, and it's all like you see all their biofeedback and it's just like doing something to them. I want to start experimenting with stuff like that, because it's one thing pre-rendered stuff and the emotion and the music and everything, art for art's sake. That's what I'm doing now. But I want to see what can happen next if we start being much more intentional about the tech and the reason and the actual the real time moment that people are having with it.
So you want to take people's real moment experience as a data point, and you want to create an error correction system that allows to understand what is more impactful, and then go from there. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Was it ever done, something like that?
Not in 3D. I don't think so. I think people are doing it with like CinemaScopes. I think that's what they're called. Colors, just like LED projection. And then my friend Tarun's working on something very similar, and I feel like when we collaborate, it'll be really powerful. He's got a whole health tech center in Santa Monica, and we've been talking about it for years, but I feel like we're both finally getting to the place where we can start to develop something like that. So that's next.
What would it be? Is it like along the lines of like a light detector, like galvanic responses and things like that, or?
Well, the one that he's working on right now is like a voice tone recognition software. So as you're speaking, it's changing like the color, the frequency is changing the color of the color that's being shown to you, and it's just blasting you with different like colors of light, and it just creates this feedback, and then that creates a visual on the wall, so you're seeing this feedback of yourself speaking. So that's like one way to like, that's data input, just like your voice and then the color, and it's really cool. But now he's like starting to involve like light therapy, sound, vibration therapy, like all sorts of things. Like he's putting all the pieces together, and then I think that once we can figure out how to get onto the 3D wall and create like a really, really like expansive, deep experiences with the technology that they have, I think that's when it'll get really interesting.
But then it's gonna have to be. Does it have to have this feedback loop mechanism? Like, do they have to have like a word set or something that they express in order for you to register information from them, or they can just observe and somehow you would know by their eye movement or something?
Eye movement, heart rate, temperature, like all sorts of different input could be feeding the actual visual. But I think speech is like the easiest one because you just need a mic and they already have that system built. But I'm curious to see how many different inputs you can feed into one art piece or one experience that you have. So that's next. And like right now it's all pretty and shapes and design and everything, but I feel like what we're gonna work on is be much more raw, color, movement. Like I have no idea what it's gonna be, but I feel like that'll be the next step of what we're doing. And I'll still keep doing my shows. That's like my pieces, but I want to start more experimenting with like the real time solo experiences for like people to see how they respond to it, and then monitor them. Do some kind of like evaluation before and then after, and see how it affects people. Like I'm really curious to see how this type of art can affect people. I think it's got the most, because nobody really knows how a painting affects somebody. You can ask them about it before and after, but can you meter them as they're looking at the painting and see if it actually changes them? I think this piece of art, resolution and the work I'm working on, if you can actually gauge how much it's affecting people, then that piece of art becomes more culturally significant than just like, no, I love Jackson Pollock, but an old Jackson Pollock painting, I think this art could be some of the most like relevant, culturally significant art of the 21st century, personally.
Yeah, and also it has the potential to become more interactive and obviously much more immersive. I always envisioned this again, but I guess that goes back into something a little bit more advanced. But I could totally imagine art of the future that, for example, allows us to experience the quality of a different animal. Can you imagine how amazing that is? Like just trying to actually experience what a dog experiences or a bat experiences. It's like, what is the actual composition of the experience there?
Or
like that would be, or a dolphin, yeah.
Whoa.
Who made this point? I think Jordan Peterson was really funny. He's like, what if dolphins are just as smart as us, but they're just stuck in being a tube? They can't do anything. Just like.
I would love to see that. I would love to be an
That would
adult
be
in his
amazing.
brain for a second.
Yeah. So I think to your point though, I think that the immersiveness and the interactiveness of it is the real potential, because I think people want to participate. I think not everybody has either the wherewithal or the ability to conceive of how to interact with these spaces from a creative point of view. Like they don't necessarily have the oomph to actually get up and like do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you give them the tools,
Yeah.
you know, everybody would love, like, if I can interact with your space and I can like change things in, and it's like, oh my God, it's like people would line up. This is going to be the next biggest thing. Like literally theaters are going to be out. This is, seriously, because it's like you can control your experience in it.
That's how it feels when you see the show. It feels like you saw a movie, but much shorter, but it affects you in the same way where you're just like, God, that was a good movie. Damn.
7 seconds.
7 seconds. God, I'm going to go back to the theater and watch it again.
Yeah, I'll try and do a 7-second podcast episode. See how that fucking goes.
You just introduced me.
Thank you. So good.
That was really good. Took the headphones down, man.
Yeah, that was great. So yeah, man. I mean, I would love to do this again when we have a little bit more time. But I first of all, I'm grateful that you took the time to actually have this conversation, man. I deeply appreciate your work. Really, it's like not every day that you meet something and you see something that you really know this is some next level shit.
Yeah.
And your work definitely fits.
And I remember you told me, you're like, I know it's hard to blow an artist's mind, but I think I have something. And it took us 11 months, but you did.
Hey.
You did.
Nobody knows what we're talking about. Well, maybe they do because it's on my channel. But yeah. So you actually, you know what? I honestly, I didn't think of that as an option. But are you willing to talk about what you saw?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in the few minutes that we got left, I released this video, and more and more people saw it now. And I'm in the process of kind of talking to groups on Reddit and some individuals and researchers. And one of the things that keeps coming up, which is completely understandable, the main point that people are having a hard time with is, well, what do you mean? Like, okay, so you saw some stuff while you're on this drug. How is this different than anything else? And what I was the point I was trying to make in the video, and it's really hard to deliver just with words, which is, no. When you see it, it's different.
Yeah.
There's something different there. Yeah. So my perspective of it is that, like I said, it's just the structure is much more like it's coherent in space. There's like, it has its own reality very clearly, right? How would you define why is it different?
So, I've experimented with the molecule enough times to know it varies. There's so much in that world visually, but when I saw the sequence, it was so unique to anything else that was happening around it that it just stood out to me. It was its own thing. Like, you can't explain it. Like, it wasn't moving along the same grid or the lines that everything else I was seeing. It was just its own thing. It was just it's really you can't really explain it till you see it, but it just stood out in a way that I've never seen anything like that. Like when you do any psychedelic, like everything kind of fits within like the framework of that psychedelic, but this thing was just its own thing. And it was just so, of all the craziness that was happening in my periphery and in my vision, this thing was the most beautiful thing that I saw, but it was both the simplest and the most complex thing that I was seeing in my whole field of view. It was just its own thing. And I remember, like, the first time I saw it, they just looked like little blocks, like little rotating blocks. The code just looked very simple. And the more I got into it, the more I could really decipher, like, more shape and line into it. I couldn't see into the door like you were talking about. Like, I couldn't see past it. I feel like they were just there on the surface, but they were going back just a little bit, like a couple inches to me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you probably, the more you do it, the next time you do it, you'll see the depth. You'll see like more and more. Yeah. I don't know why that is, but I guess your brain is like getting acclimated to that space. Yeah. That's the main point that is so hard to deliver to people. And I guess the only way that it's going to happen is that just more and more people kind of try it and comment and see what's going on. But I'll be working more on the more scientific side and like trying to come up with like more concrete answers about what I think like how it actually works and what is the thing we're actually looking at. But yeah, I mean, this is actually a great. I didn't think of that, but that's a great idea. If I have a guest who tried it and they're willing to talk about it, this should be a good.
Yeah,
because a lot of people.
I've been telling some of my best friends about it, like my most studied, most out there friends, and everybody's interested. Everybody's like it's. I personally think it's. I think it's important, and I think that if we actually like got behind studying and trying to observe it, I think there's something there that's really important. And I can't explain it. I don't know. I try to explain it to people. I'm just like, just when you meet him, just let him explain it. Forget everything I just said. Just let him explain it. But I've been talking about it a lot lately because after I saw it, it's hard to go back to just thinking that this is just like all just fridge, wall, thing, here, ceiling, you got a table. It's hard to just think that this is all like, this is just like, 99% free space, just. There is so much empty space between everything that we think is physical. So what is actually between this and that? Like, what is between the empty space? It's like, after I saw that, I was like, I can't understand what I just saw. But I think it's important. I think that I'm really interested and I really want to help you figure out how to get it out there, because it is so fringe, and, people will say that, well, it's just like the drug or whatever. But it's more than that. Like it's that, like, I feel like the molecule is just like a vessel or like a little key, it's like just a part of accessing the information. And why wouldn't it be? I mean, it's one of the most miraculous molecules to ever exist or we ever had access to. Why wouldn't it be a part of figuring out what the next level is? It has been for so many people, but you found the key, you found another key inside the keyhole. It's like,
and now we get to explore the space. And now really the real work is going to be for all of us. And this is, I think, the point I'm trying to get across to people, which is I'm not saying, hey, believe me. I'm saying, hey, here's how you can see it.
Yeah.
Let's go all and look. Let's go all and talk about it. But first you have to see it, because like you're saying, unless you saw it, it's very difficult to deliver the point, which is like why this seems to be so different. And I struggled for a long time with the notion of like, why am I releasing it to the world? I think that the scientist in me can't shake off the fact that, like, hey, if this is true, we want to know it. Whatever it is, even if this thing is like some kind of a thing that is not necessarily good for us, which I don't think it is, but even there, like, you still want to be aware of it. Like, the things that are dangerous in the universe will still destroy you, either you know about them or not. So knowing how to diverge an asteroid is still better than not knowing how to do that. So that's essentially where I'm coming from.
Imagine if you're the one that looks into the source code and it rips and it goes.
Yeah, it's just like everything.
Like you're the guy. It wasn't CERN. It was you going.
And then fucking explode everything.
You're like, oh, sorry, but that was
restart reality. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Fire it up again. We'll just a couple more.
No, the reason I know it's very little chances that it's that is because if if this is, first of all, I don't think this is just naturally occurring. I think obviously somebody's running it, but I think if that civilization would really want to hide it, they would. Yeah. The fact that it's available to be seen, that's really the only thing you need to know. It's like, you wouldn't be able to see it if they didn't want you to. Yeah. So that's what it is for me. Yeah. Alaan, again, we gotta go. So thank you so much for doing this, bro. You're always a fountain of a lot of good vibes and wisdom. Seriously, your vibes are fucking awesome.
Hey, sorry.
So I'll be excited to have you on the podcast again.
I'd love to.
And
this is my first podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
This is cool.
Bro.
Appreciate you, man.
And we'll do this again for sure, man.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yeah.